Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. Welcome to WowBiz, Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. What's new with you? Welcome to WowBiz, Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker, and the word new is the key word for this particular show. In fact, I've got Cosmopolitan Magazine, their latest edition right here, and I spilled coffee on it earlier, so it looks a little bit ragged, but the key things is what's being quoted in the upper left-hand corner right here, if you can catch that. And this young lady here on the cover says, "Can we have everything new as well, please?" New everything is the theme of this particular magazine. Now, I'm not necessarily involved that much in this kind of consumer marketing or publicity, but definitely am focused, and most of you know by now that we're involved with newbraska.com, and that definitely is reflected in that kind of sentiment coming from the consumer, then to the businesses, the suppliers, the wholesalers. Everybody is looking for a new angle, a new hook, a new vision, a new destiny, a new process, new technology. And we're going to talk about that today. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. Thank you again for joining me. I've got a great guest, a new entrepreneur. His name is Marcus Franklin. Marcus, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. My pleasure to have you. And you are a very interesting guy. I just met you recently, and we're talking about your business. So let's just pull back for a moment, and let's talk about your business model, what you do here in town. Make sure we get your company's name correctly as well. So you own or began what company?
A&M Cleaning and Painting Service.
Okay,
Yep.
A&M Cleaning and Painting Service. So the website would be what? Do you have a website?
Yes, it's serving402.com.
Say it again.
Serving402.com.
Okay,
Yep.
All right, there you go. So we know exactly what your geographical focus is.
100%. Yep.
Absolutely. So Marcus, tell me, how long have you been running the company?
A year and 2 months.
Okay, so you are new. I was right on in terms of my
100%.
my segue, my theme. And tell me, what brought you to the point where you a year and a half ago or whatever, you said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this thing on my own. Tell my audience a little bit about your background and what stimulated you to make that pivotal decision.
Well, it all started with my Uncle Morris. My Uncle Morris was a hardworking guy. Until his death. Like, he was just always willing to work and put us to work, raking leaves, building block, whatever it was. But in my family, we've owned cleaning businesses for over 20 years.
Oh, you have?
Well, I haven't, but my family has.
Okay.
We've always been involved.
All right.
I've worked for them, never owned my own.
I see.
So it started with like my cousin LaShante and my brother William. They started their own, Tay started her own business in New Orleans, brought it to Chicago, and then had my brother doing some work for her.
Okay, let's back up there and say you grew up in South Side of Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Mm-hmm. So now we've got your evolution, and you got to Omaha because of a woman, right?
Well, I got to Omaha because of school, but then I ended up getting married to a beautiful woman, yes.
Sure. And is she involved actively in your business or not?
She helps, but we have a 7-month-old daughter, and that's pretty much her focus right now.
Sure.
You can't buy a good mom or anything like that. So it's like she's just working on, helping my daughter.
Okay, so tell us about your business model. You're the contractor, you find clients, and then you sub some of the work out, but some you don't. Tell us about that.
So with property management companies, they always, the good thing is that they have one voice when they're working with me. So when I go into a company, I offer all of the services, and through the connections through my church and all these other guys that I've met throughout my life, I have plumbers, electricians, whatever you need, snow removal, lawn care.
Sure.
So I go in as a general contractor on a smaller level for property management companies.
Okay.
So I'm one voice, but I provide all services.
Okay. And how do you handle the relationship then with your, I guess you'd be your property managers or whoever the supervisor is and so on? I mean, how do you get the client, and then what's the standard thing? Are you checking in with them on a daily basis, or do you run across problems and you call them in behalf of your freelancer, or how does that work? How do the daily operations feel?
Well, it's always update. I come from a project manager background. I did that for corporate for 5 years. So communication is key, always key. That's the most important thing, is just communicating with your customer, which is the property managers. And then when they run into a problem, say the grass isn't cut the right way, or something, the painting isn't done properly, they call me, and that's the different thing. That's the unique thing about me, is that I'm one voice. You call me, and then I fix the problem, so that you can focus on your day to day when it comes to the property and everything else that goes on.
Now, Marcus, if this thing grows, and I'm sure it will over time, you're not going to be able to always be the one voice per se. You're going to have to delegate. You'll actually develop probably a little middle management type group who are responsible for one section of town or one industry that you work within or whatever. How do you plan on handling that?
Man, this is a big conversation in my family right now. My brother Casanova Brooks, he's always telling me, dude, at some point you got to work on your business instead of in your business.
Right. So I was going in that direction.
So delegating is definitely the end goal. That's I just want to make sure that I build up a company that has the same heart as me. I'm all about serving. I'm all about doing things right and being transparent with my customers. So it's that's hard to find, as we all know. Good help is hard to find, but it's out there, and I'm in the works. I mean, I have 3 or 4 people that are consistently working with me and doing a great job. But delegating is definitely the future. But I also have to learn how to build this. I'm fresh, so.
Sure. Now, you told me recently a little bit about your interest in the word hope and weaving the concept of hope into your relationships and dialogues and possibly some public speaking and so on. Let's elaborate on that for a moment. Tell me why the word hope, and why are you're already a very busy man. Mm-hmm. You've got this thing in the back of your head that you're going to weave hope into the discussion. How do you do that?
It's super simple, man. All people want is to feel like they can do something. So that's where the word hope comes from, and also my church was a big influencer in that word for me. It grew on me. Like being a hope dealer is what we call ourselves. So people that feel hopeless and feel like they don't have, we want to be that person that bridges that gap and let them know that, hey, anything's possible.
Okay.
Hard times. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so self-esteem. I hear you saying that.
100%.
I hear you talking about the empowerment, empowering people so they can do something.
Right.
So is that a formal or just is that part of the value system of your company, or is that a career for Marcus as he goes out and evolves into a new professional? I don't know.
It's both. I mean, it's definitely a piece of my career, but it's a piece of me as well. So I do at some point want to do some motivational speaking. I'm gonna start with my college, where I graduated from. They already have offered me to come and speak to the kids. So that's where it'll start, and who knows where it goes. My main goal though is to serve. All I want to do is serve. That's what I was put on this earth to do. So
So you feel like you do know what your destiny is, your purpose for living on this planet. I don't mean to get too existential here, but that kind of thing doesn't usually come up when I'm talking to a young person. Usually a little bit older before you kind of figure out that idea.
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about that. When did you wake up one day, or when you were 5 or 6, and say, I'm going to serve, or did somebody influence you heavily and say, this is what you got to focus on, man, and so then you said, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, well, it's basically my parents. My parents instilled in us to serve, no matter what what you get in return. So my dad has been his own. He owns his own gym for 10 years now, and he's been his own trainer for about 30. My mom, she's always been a server. She'll serve and give her last. So it's kind of how me and my brothers and my sister are. We were raised that way. But then as I got older, I realized that serving was my gift. We all have many talents. Of course, you have many, including golf. It's only one really unique gift that you have that God literally gave you, and that's serving for me.
That's interesting. You know, I could talk to you about that someday. I may have you come back, because I actually have been keeping a recap of my entire life and the pivotal moments that have occurred in my life. And I've discussed this with a couple people, and I feel like there are at least 2 specific moments where it occurred to me what I was supposed to be doing with my life. They were not exactly the same, by the way. They didn't point me in exactly the same direction, but related. So we'll chat with that about.
I would love to chat about that.
Yeah, you want to talk about it? Now, hope. You know, as it relates to the pandemic and the COVID-19 situation, does your message or your personal demeanor change as we're in this? I don't want to say hopeless, but there's a lot of people that are pretty pessimistic right now about the future, very kind of laid back and guarded and nervous. You know, what's your message to those people?
My message to those people is, my granddad used to say, for some strange reason, everything seems to work itself out.
Yeah.
So no matter how hard you think the time is, and we all can relate to this, it's been struggles and times where we all feel like, man, the world is coming down on me.
Yeah.
But for some strange reason, we seem to figure it out.
Yeah.
So my message to those people is, you'll be okay. Surround yourself with just positive people.
Yes.
People that want to focus on the positive instead of the negative.
Sure.
And you also have to implement it and be intentional about the communication you have. It has to be all positive. It has to be about moving forward, about what we can do and not what's going on. And that's really, really important in my life. And I think it will help those people that feel hopeless.
You know, when you work with freelancers and subcontractors, they may not have the same professional standards that you have.
Yes, sir.
They may be nice people and capable from a technical point of view, but a lot of those people haven't gone through what you've gone through, perhaps.
Right.
And so their ability, and they're out there customer facing, you know, they're around customers.
Right.
And so they may not have the same poise or presence or just ability to handle problem situations. Do you worry about that? Do you go through a training process, or you just cross your fingers and hope that something bad doesn't happen out in the field?
No, not at all. I'm really not worried about it. As a project manager working corporate for 5 years, especially building a 14-story hospital, it's a lot of rules and regulations. It's a lot of things that go wrong.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things you got to figure out.
Yeah.
So what I learned in that is, once again, everything works itself out. One, but two, you just gotta figure out, because there's always a way to fix everything. You just gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'm not really pressured by it. I'm not afraid of it. I'm actually looking forward to it because it also helps you learn and it builds character.
All right.
Failure builds more character than anything that ever went right.
You know, Marcus, you and I did a little golfing yesterday. I think we took each of us about 100 swings at the ball. I'm gonna put you on the spot and tell you what is, as you swing for the ball, as you try to hit it accurately as far as you can, et cetera, and you and I both had our share of good strokes and bad strokes.
Right.
How would you use that as a metaphor? What's that a symbol of insofar as your business is concerned? When you're out there stroking, you don't know if you're gonna hit the ball square and so on. How can we utilize that as a metaphor or a symbol for what we're trying to achieve in our careers?
That's a great question. It would be, I like what Jim says. He says it's a long game. It's a game of consistency and it's a game of patience. And I think life's the same way. I feel like everything's about being consistent. The things you do consistently is the things you do well. Okay. So that's my message to, that's my answer to that question, pretty much. That's how I bring it into life, is that it's all about being patient, doing the same thing over and over and over again until you get it right. You
know, what I noticed as I was positioning myself to hit that ball is that it requires a certain amount of self-awareness of what your body, your hip, the tension in your body, and a lot of them are rather subtle, right? And so what I find interesting from a metaphorical point of view is that when you wake up in the morning and you got your business, you got clients to solve, you got deadlines, you got things to get done, and being self-aware, in other words, what's going on in your head while you're running around, getting ready, getting your shoes on, going out, making a phone call, etc. What's going on in your head is what determines kind of the tension, psychic tension of how you interact with people and whether you hit the ball long or short. Or, huh?
Yeah, I agree.
Do you see that?
I do, and it's I like to. Me and my brother Casanova, we talk about this all the time. It's all about transitions. When you wake up in the bed, now you got to go eat breakfast.
Yeah.
And once you eat breakfast, you got to go take a shower.
Right.
So if you control those transitions and you control the energy in those transitions,
Yes.
it'll prepare you for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
You wake up happy, you think happy, you read a book, you learn something, you're motivated. Now you go out and you have a good day.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's all about the transitions.
So you got to handle the transitions correctly, and then what comes right after that?
Controlling the energy.
Right.
Yep.
Very, very good. Marcus Franklin with, and I want to say it correctly, A&M.
Yes, sir. Cleaning service.
Cleaning service. Thank you so much, Marcus Franklin.